colleague who really had been the love of his life and his inspiration, her memory would still be his inspiration. And so it was his wish to be buried right next to her.
And all of a sudden, Paolo is not with us. So we need to figure out what's consistent and what we need to do. So we're talking open discussion. How do we do this? Do you do it using a knowledge-based system like a basic wiki? And everyone gets on and says, look, I want the small community, I want the big vision, whatever this plays out to. But to really dig into the dynamism that has been reflected in this short meeting. So it's going to be up to Tomoyaki and the board to figure out how do we put those IT resources into place so we can talk.
I don't think this was meant to be some condo, community, some exclusive condo community. If you had 300 people who were willing to say, if I can come back here, I'll put my money down. Then you go to the real estate developer and they go build it. Right. It's not complicated. Right. Now in the process, to me, you just make the commitment. We're going to do it, and then you work through it as you go. It's a barn raising process.
Don't talk to me. Talk to him.
Yeah.
It's going to take all these pieces. Right. The real challenge here is putting all the pieces together to make it work, because no one's ever put them together the way that we're trying to put them together here.
We really have to see the bigger picture to see that how to get to that goal based on the reality. So once we start putting all those projects, so that's where we got lost in terms of the productivities and in terms of the programs, priorities. So we really have to go back to that, the goal, where we'd like to be, and then identify all those programs to get there. And then we can list all those projects, and then many projects overlaps. If you have an art program, culture program, education, they all need a housing, for instance. But we really have to see where we'd like to be, and then identify many of those programs based on our values. Right. And then, only then, we talk about many project possibilities, and then we prioritize at that point. So we are in the process of making that list. So that's so in other words, when up until now, Paolo had pretty much the direct hand on everything. So he identified projects.
Honestly.
So now we are basically, when you start identifying projects, there's no accountability in it. Because whether it's finished or not, that's where we are. Yeah. So no one's accountable for anything. It is a big step for us because up until now, someone made that decisions to work on the project, and then Paolo was not accountable at all. I mean, ultimately, yes, it's his project, but we did not say, okay, Paolo, it didn't work. Paolo never admit that mistake because everything for him is a process to get there. There's no question mark is his trademark that he doesn't have to finish. The finishing is not objective for him. It's a process to basically learn something.
So let me just suggest that if in fact, I would argue that we can't wait for all the programs to be developed before we start building something.
Right. We don't have to have a whole program, but make sure that the focus of in order to get to the
we have to
level.
We have to build flexible space so it can accommodate changing programs.
Well, that's what's fine, but we may have to go to realistic to grasp the reality of this. We have limited resources, it's not unlimited thing. So see what we can do, and then without giving up all these fantastic potentials outside resources may bring in. But we also have to focus on what we have and then what's the next important.
If we assume 300 square feet per person times 300 people, that's 90,000 square feet times $150 a square feet.
At least
somewhere like
alumni to replace Paolo, okay?
Yeah.
But the question is, what do you think the alumni can do?
Yes. I think we have to create some forum to, number one, to have open discussions, because when we have this, even the small project we've been working on, greenhouse and so on, we wanted to have the Utopia the other day talked about accountability, or what is it? Some critical thinking.
Yeah.
it's very important, crucial to have that. But and the 4 years ago, when we started building greenhouse and so on, there's no, we know that Roger and I pointed out it's not going to work the way it's designed and so on. There's so many experience we have, and we learn that some of the heat up tunnel. Its idea is great, but it's the thermally speaking, all many aspects of it, it does not work. But it just none of those arguments being basically entertained by when we started doing it, the project being pushed. Paolo basically stopped all conversations. So there's nothing, no really critical evaluation of the project being done because the conversation was stopped. So I was in a critical things for every step of the way to this day, and then but finally the Paolo's gone. So now finally I have a forum to speak about those things openly. Finally we have those things. So that's why I think it's very important. It allows to be part of any kind of process. We have to have that kind of openness to have the forum so we can basically talk about those things.
When I was here in '65, and I was working on Image of Man, the big book. We were working on that at that time. And later I came back about 4 or 5 times and spoke with Paolo about various things. And the last time we spoke, sat down and spoke.
It's time to gather back for real. We need to come back now.
Okay.
Okay. The last time we spoke, he said to me,
I can present the chart.
No, wait, look at the picture.
Finish your point. At least finish your point.
well, it's important that he hear this, that what he spoke to me is that the concept of Arcosanti, where you would bring together professionals and students that would share an image and share information to a great extent has been superseded by the internet. That you don't have to have a physical place to bring people together, that you have it already existing. So development of this is not necessarily, or finishing is not necessarily, was a target.